Saturday morning. Good Saturday morning, everyone. Yesterday, we talked a little about this. It's my magic disc, my Pentacle. Okay, and in yesterday's talk, we read from my diaries from the year and the month and everything that I first created that. Now that's the actual consecrated one. I know I shouldn't show it, but who cares? I'm a chicken capitalist. That's a small version of this. Okay, that is kind of my working pentacle, and uh, it it got me thinking. And I said yesterday that I was going to share with you sort of an expansion, a dilation on the discussion of the pentacle or the disc. Okay, the magician's got classic classically when you look at the tarot card, you see a magician standing there with one hand up and one hand pointing down at his desk there, and on his desk he's got usually four main weapons, magical weapons or tools. He's got his magic wand, he's got a magic cup, he's got a magic sword or a dagger, and a magic disc. Okay, those are uh, attributed to the four powers of the great name Yod He Vav He. Behold his mighty Yod He Vav He hand. And there's a fifth element, spirit, okay, which holds those elements together and keeps them apart at the same time. It pushes and pulls, it's active and it's passive. It's like an electric alternating current. But that spirit has a weapon too, and that spirit is the lamp. The magic lamp represents that. But the very first thing a magician makes is his or her disc. Okay, you don't start at the yod and with a wand. No, first you start with a disc. And you may ask, is something like, could something like this be a disc? Actually, that's not a disc. It's those are seals, okay, and this is sort of a talisman, not a disc. And here's a here's it looks like a disc, okay, uh, but it's really a talisman. This one's a Saturn talisman, okay. That's doesn't function as a magical disc. It functions as a talisman, and you can make discs out of this. These are the genie of the Hebrew letter Aleph, or so. But that's not a disc. Uh, how about this? No, that's a coaster. Many times you see in the magician card that the magician has a disc on the table on the tarot card, and he's got something that looks like this. Now, actually, this was my first attempt at a disc. So this disc is probably 46, 47 years uh, old. Okay, I made it out of wax. Okay, and when I first learned about what a disc should be, that it should represent my understanding of reality and the universe, okay, and everything, then I turned it around, and in a super cop out, because I'm so unskilled, so stupid, but nevertheless, I could wrap my meat brain around the profoundly simple concept of the yin and yang. So for a year or so, this was my personal disc. And over the years, of course, the silver and the gold paint there have turned into a biohazard of their own. But anyway, something like this is starting to be a magical disc. Now, the technical name for the magical disc is Pentacle, not Pentacle, but Pentacle. Pan meaning the root of the word meaning all. So in other words, the Pentacle should be a design, a diagram that has every freaking thing, concept, idea, tendency in existence in it. Somewhere on your Pentacle design, you should be able to point out any concept, any idea, any planet, any zodiac sign, any element, any you could find it all in your Pentacle. Now, this is John Dee's famous Sigillum Dei Meth, and we talked about that when we discussed Enochian stuff and how literally how he built that. This is an example of a disc. And when it came time in my, such as it is, my formal magical studies, when it came time for me to construct my Pentacle, I came up with that design that I just showed you. Okay, and that was way back in 1976. And I mentioned yesterday that's a version, that's a small little version of my Pentacle. And on the back of this one, I just put a pentagram. But anyway, I said I would talk about how to make your own magical Pentacle and just discuss it. Actually, it's chapter 6 of my long, out-of-print book, Homemade Magic. Now, if you don't have Homemade Magic, if you do have it, hang on to it because it's a first edition at the moment. And you could probably help pay the rent on eBay with it. And if you're going to do that, you better do it soon because I'm happy to say, I'm ecstatic to say that the good people at Magical Omaha, the people that publish my Tarot of Ceremonial Magic, to my great delight, are publishing a new expanded edition of Homemade Magic, and hopefully we'll at least have the release date in just a few weeks. Not that it'll be released in a few weeks, but we'll know when it'll be released. It's a 2022 release, at least in our heads, and it will be available at a normal price. So if you're going to rush out and buy a copy of Homemade Magic just because you can't wait, go to Amazon and get a used, beat up copy just for the text, and don't spend collectors' fees just to get the text, because it'll soon be out in a revised second edition. That's Homemade Magic. So I talk about the magic disc. I talk about all the magic weapons in Homemade Magic, But I start, as all magicians should start, with the disc. And here's how I started the little essay off. I start with a quote from Crowley's Liber Libriae, which is a paraphrase or a redo of a classic Golden Dawn document. Learn first, O thou who aspirest into our holy ancient order, that equilibrium is the basis of the work. If thou thyself hast not a sure foundation, whereon wilt thou stand to direct the forces of nature? I will start with the disc or pentacle, as it represents the lowest rung on the ladder of consciousness, and is the first magical weapon the magician creates in the opening act of his or her magical drama. It represents the magician's perceived understanding of his or her immediate environment. Do you want me to repeat that? Because that's what it represents. It represents the magician's perceived understanding of his or her immediate environment. It is the blueprint of the magician's home. It is position, a place the magician first pretends to be at the beginning of the waking up process. It is a firm foundation upon which we must stand to direct the forces of nature. Just as your magical motto expresses who you are pretending to be at the moment, the disc expresses where you're pretending to be and where you're intending to go. The disc is your map, but it's a map you must draw yourself. To start, you have to ask yourself, where do I think I am? I'm sorry to say, but it's impossible for you to know exactly where you are in the universe. Think about it. You're sitting somewhere. You probably don't even know precisely which way is east. And even if you did know, what is east anyway? You're not exactly standing still. You're clinging to the surface of the sphere that is spinning over 1,000 miles an hour. All the while, you and the whole Earth are being hurled at an unthinkable and variable speed around a star 93 million miles away, which, along with you and me and the whole solar system, is being dragged around some inscrutable center of our galaxy. Add to that the fact that the entire cosmos is expanding at an enormous speed away from an incomprehensible pre-existent singularity. Know where you are? Fat chance. You have absolutely no idea where you are in the universe. Can you really expect to know where your pretend self is positioned in the cosmos? The answer is simple. No, you can't. But you have to start somewhere. And to do that, you first have to pretend. We first have to pretend where we are. This is why neophytes of the mysteries learn and regularly practice meditations and ceremonies like the rituals of the pentagram and the hexagram that require us to presume that we're operating in a set position somewhere in the cosmos. The pentagram rituals oblige us to move about as if we were positioned on the surface of an apparently flat Earth, in the center of a circle demarcated by 4 directions, north, south, east, and west. The pentagram rituals require the magicians to become master of the local, terrestrial, microcosmic environment. The hexagram rituals, on the other hand, work in the bigger world of the macrocosm and force the magician to expand his or her consciousness to encompass a larger universe, literally placing the magician as the sun surrounded by the belt of the zodiac. Both points of view are, of course, woefully inaccurate. But because you have to start somewhere, you put your pretend self in these pretend positions. I learned these rituals very early in my magical career because I was instructed by my teacher to do so. I really didn't know why I was practicing them. Only years later did it dawn on me what these exercises were doing to my consciousness and my sense of position in the universe. Think about it. When you visit a huge and crowded shopping mall, don't you always feel better when you find your location on the big "You Are Here" map? The tiny arrow points to a position on the map. Of course, you're not actually on that little arrow, but by mentally projecting yourself there, you become armed with a degree of knowledge and understanding that enables you to find your way around the mall. It also gives you an idea of your position and size in relationship to individual stores and the immensity of the mall. As the magical weapon of the element Earth, the disc is your body and the spiritual food or bread that sustains the body. It is here the solid foundation upon which you will build your temple. It is also your "You Are Here" map. The disc is also called the Pentacle because the design you create and engrave upon its surface will represent in symbolic form all that you presently understand the universe to be. Obviously, coming up with a design that symbolizes absolutely everything in your universe is a pretty tall order and requires a lot of thought and meditation. You need to do it, however, for unless you were grounded by the disc, you cannot begin the great work. The Pentacle is your yellow brick road, and you'll never get to the Emerald City and see the Wizard of Oz until you first find the yellow brick road. So, this is my Pentacle. Now I'll try to orient it because the lettering helps me orient it. Because you can see the words around the edge. There's Nuit at the top, Nuit, and Hadith around the outer perimeter. And inside that 11-sided figure is Rahur Kuit. And 4 trees of life, all joined at Kether, at their Kethers. I designed it in August of 1976, following my first degree initiation in the OTO. My inspiration was a combination of thelemic and Kabbalistic cliches. Therefore, the terms I use when describing the universal principles I'm representing are those commonly used by magicians who subscribe to the magic of Aleister Crowley's Thelema. Other magicians of different spiritual backgrounds can and should work with the exact same images and concepts, but describe them applying terms from their own traditions: Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, Jewish, Muslim. etc. My pentacle has served me well to this point in my magical career. Unlike my motto, I can't seem to come up with a better pentacle. All aspects of my understanding of all aspects of my understanding of my, or lack of a better word, reality continue to be represented to my satisfaction on this figure. And here's the description in a nutshell. As I read it to you, I want you to understand that I was trying to do what I was trying to do with the design, and think about how you will represent your understanding of the universe in your pentacle. Now, I'm going to check the clock here because I don't want to take us too far afield. I'm going to go a little bit further, and we'll pick up the rest tomorrow. Here is the Pentacle of Frater LMD. Now, you may know that LMD is my initials, Lon Milo DuQuette, but it's also the Hebrew letter Lamed. And many of my magical mottos have been a play on words too. My very first probationer's motto was Liberté, Maîtrise, Dignité. Liberté, Maîtrise, Dignité. Liberty, mastery, dignity. Oh, but anyway, I digress. The Pentacle of Frater LMD. The basic format was suggested by something I'd read in Crowley's Magic Book 4, Liber ABA Part 2. The wand is the will of man, his wisdom, his word. The cup was his understanding, the vehicle of grace. The sword was his reason, and the pentacle shall be his body, the temple of the Holy Ghost. What is the length of this temple? From north to south. What is the breadth of this temple? From east to west. What is the height of this temple? From abyss to abyss. All pentacles contain the ultimate conceptions of the circle and the cross. The tree of life itself may be figured therein. The pentacle will be imperfect unless each idea is contrasted in a balanced manner with its opposite, and unless there is a necessary connection between each pair of ideas and every other pair. That's what Crowley says a pentacle should be. First and foremost, I wanted my pentacle to represent three absolutes. The absolute biggest thing in the universe, the absolute smallest thing in the universe, and absolutely everything in between these two opposites, or these two absolutes. Let's talk about the rim of my pentacle. I think I'll do it this way so you can see all. There we go. The first two ultimate conceptions in my magical reality are two infinities, the infinite out and the infinite in. The infinite out is the outer limits of our expanding universe, quite literally, the outermost reaches of expanding space. In the specific language of Thelemic cosmology, this huge infinity is identified as the goddess Nuit, also spelled Nuith. the Egyptian sky goddess, whose very body is the starry universe. You can't get bigger or more outier than that. I chose to acknowledge this aspect of my universe on my Pentacle by placing the name Nuit, see there, N-U-I-T-H, on the circumference. Further, because remember, the Pentacle will be imperfect unless each idea is contrasted in a balanced manner with its opposite. Furthermore, I chose to acknowledge upon the rim of my Pentacle the opposite infinity. Yes, there can be two infinities. Okay. Hang on. Because the circumference, Nuit, is in a very real sense everywhere, so too must be the theoretical center of this everywhereness. This tiny infinite inness is identified as the God Hadith, also spelled Hadith, the infinite point in the very center, the heart of the body of Nuit. Because Nuit is infinite out and Hadith is infinite in, they are both infinitely everywhere, infinitely touching, rubbing and caressing. Infinite, the infinite heart of Hadith beating eternally at the infinite center of the body of Nuit. This is cosmic lovemaking on an unimaginably large and minute scale. It results in the birth of an infinite baby, the child of Nuit and Hadith. This child is the creative vibration generated by the friction of the universal in uniting with the universal out. This ecstatic vibration creates the field of operation, mass, matter, energy, upon which and within which the entire universe actually manifests in space-time. In the nomenclature of thelemic magic, the child is called Ra-Hur-Kuit, and I placed his name not on the outer perimeter of the Pentacle with his infinitely abstract and unmanifested parents, but on the inside of the parameter of the Pentacle. To illustrate the manifest nature of this field of operation, Nuit is the biggest thing in the universe, Hadith, the smallest thing in the universe, and Ra-Hur-Kuit provides the foundation for absolutely everything in between. Tomorrow, we'll finish this up and we'll talk about the cross in the center. So that's where we'll stop today. Tomorrow we'll have Sunday school. It should be fun. But anyway, it's been a brisk couple days here in Sacramento. And we're trying to figure out how to keep our Southern California turtle a little more comfortably warm during this season. We don't have very heroic turtle quarters for her, and it's not like we've got a 200-gallon aquarium and things like that. But anyway, that's our quest for the day is turtle heat. Wish us luck. If you got any ideas, put them on Facebook for me. Right now we got a little lamp over her headquarters, and when it gets sunny outside, we put her outside. She's been crawling around the yard. It's so cute. But anyway, until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. Think about your own pentacle. If you don't have one already, think about what your pentacle might be. And if you've got one already and you think you can make a better one, think about that too. See you tomorrow for Sunday school.